Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Great to see some names that we met together during the last Sustainability Summit in December. And for all new colleagues, welcome to our today's webinar. Today, we'll try to go with you through a new topic, what we saw that is one of the most important topics when we are speaking about sustainability, especially the measurement of sustainability. That's why please bear with me today. We will go through different topics focusing on this measurement. And as you know, sometimes, especially with my background from the software engineering, we are speaking about the so-called minimum viable product, and most probably the ones who have also the agile certificate or working in the agile, they know it. This minimum viable product is one very important element, and this is why I'm introducing today for us the so-called minimum viable measurement layer for our sustainability activities. And of course, this is just one of the next steps, next elements that we will see together in our journey to have sustainability by default in all projects. So today's session, we will just speak at the beginning about the problem we all of us know, but most of the time don't admit that we know it. And then we will speak a little bit this minimal viable measurement layer, how to introduce it, how to see it, and especially how to work with it, and how not to have it as additional work in our journey, in our daily work. And then we will just go together about 6 known sustainability trade-offs, breaks, what we call this. And especially this will be one part where we will be aware about what's happened and why it's happened in this way. And awareness, once we know it, awareness is the half of the solution. Then I will go through 2 examples from my world, from our projects, case studies, to see together how it's done, how we are applying this minimal measurement layer, especially in projects in complex environment. Okay, let's just try to deep dive, and we start really with our problem, what all of us know, especially the question is when we are under pressure. Pressure means time, costs, budget, or the scope is changing. The observation is always we don't speak anymore about sustainability. It means if delivery gets serious, then sustainability is no more a topic where we discuss in meetings and in different areas we have. And this is why, for me, it's not important just to try to understand this, especially with the changes we have, with the new definitions we are facing, and especially also with some results of the PMI research what we saw recently. But before getting also there, let's just start with the simple sound check. It means the question here is just if your project was really a win, or just you delivered something. And here, please just type 1 in the chat if you have delivered a project that checked all boxes, everything is fine, but still faced backlash, low adaptation, criticism, or even in some cases resistance. Or type 2 if you have seen the project that was imperfect, but from the other side, earned trust, got adopted fast, and was remembered as success. So just please use the chat function and put there your answer. So, Niraj, type 2. Only one in the chat having C the one or the other project type? Any other who saw maybe the first one or both? There is also some colleagues who saw both. Yes, I'm yes focusing both are there. Great, perfect. Then this led us a little bit to the definition, and this is something what we saw it very early. It means this is the reality, the real world, how we see this part of the success, the definition of success. And of course, when you just take it really from the real world part, most of the time, and you see it in my question here, most of the time, trust is one of the success. Second one is adaptation, that is adopted. Third one is, of course, sustainability, that we have this sustainability part of the system, but also the value, the fourth one. And if you see it, it means not only delivered as the results what we can have as a success. And this is the feeling why we have this both effects, that you are answering that some of the projects are even in time, in scope, in the budget, but still not 100% success. And this led us a little bit now to the new definition. It means this is most of the time we know that if we have one slide for sustainability, this slide will not more be the focus if we don't have time for it. And this is why when we just see the both reports from PMI, the 2024 edition of the report was published in the 2024, showed that sustainability was the strongest predictor for project success. And 2025 even went further and clearly defined the three types of sustainability benefits, especially when we are speaking about the environmental pillar, social or economic pillar. And this led us also to see how this new definition is getting there and how we can use it the best way. And this is a little bit taken now directly from the report 2025, was also published in December, as I mentioned last year. Then we have a new definition here. Is the definition of project success is now the consensus view across intended beneficiaries, our stakeholders, other stakeholders, and project participants, that the project was delivered to have value. And this is exactly the point where our new definition is coming. And this is delivered value that was worth than the effort and expense done and given. And this is when we just get a little bit deeper now there. It means we are going to measure a slightly different way of how we are measuring our success. The value is now in the central point of our measurement. And of course, if we just take it as a point here and then get, okay, how we can measure it. For us, sustainability is always not so in the definition that we have. We have another element from PMI also published there. And before getting there, we just try to define intentions. Just please try to take this definition here just a moment in mind. Intention, decision, and evidence. And of course, here we will go through it. We will see, we will have also a little bit our discussion about it is how to define it. You don't need to have all these layers together in your project, depending from how you can work with it. But It's just another mindset thinking about it. It means it will be a mindset thinking about outcome focus. What success must look like in your project is only environmental, social, or business. The three layers we saw it here, the three layers from the benefit, or is a combination of two or three elements. And we will see later on why it's important. But of course, this is the start of this mindset thinking how I can measure my success in sustainability. The second one is very important element is just to train yourself to see the signals and proofs. It means you are preparing now. We are preparing our decision taking. It means we are preparing how we are leading the signals and lagging proof. It means this is very important. Just we have to see what are our indicators, what are our indicators for the having clear elements. And then, of course, one element to take our decision and later on to show our intentions is very important that we have a baseline and some assumptions to start with. This will be our layer to have our decision rules and threshold. And of course, we need just to have some rules in this element. The rules and the decision taking is a very important element to have our measurement for sustainability, but to lay the ground for our success. This is a central element here, what we can work with it. And of course, important is to have the ownership and the visibility, the intention to show it, to show how we are doing this. And of course, this is the ownership behind it and the element what we can speak without it with it. And of course, on the top, if it's possible, there will be the decision dashboard, evidence based. But this is another level. This is another element what we can add if needed, not necessary. But to come back on to get it very simple from the basis to the top, outcome focus, not only inputs, not only numbers. In my case, when I'm speaking about training, not only thinking about having trained 300 people, I need to have the outcome focus there. How or what success must look like in my case. In my case, it could be one of the elements related to business with the social impact of my activities, signal and proofs. What are the indicators? It means one of the indicators and signals, for example, in the green skills training, there is a higher drop off than on the digital training. These are signals. Of course, the baseline assumptions is how we can work on our decision. For me, will be the decision rule, what I will putting there. If the number of the drop off is more than 25%, then I need to stop the activities, think about what's happened, and escalate it. Cadence and ownership is also having this, especially with in our case, with the partnership with the ministry to have the reports to show it transparently when something happened. And of course, the one-page decision dashboard. This is something what we developed together, and especially this is the activation dashboard. In my case, for any escalation, what we have. Let's just get also a little bit to understand how we can apply it here and how we can see it together. The first element you can ask me, okay, we have no something new is the movement launched by PMI about the more, and we have a minimum viable measurement layer. You can just see it. The MORA is the direction, and just how to apply this direction will be with our, for example, this is just one example with this measurement layer is the mechanism, is how to get there. It means, of course, if we see it from the management perception part, is really is not the perception is not only the marketing. is clearly stakeholder will judge the success. It means this is what they are understanding and what is their experience with your product. And of course, here this is important as we saw together. One element is here is very important for the stakeholders, how to work with it, how we see it, and of course, how to explain this. If we have a clear baseline and assumptions, a clear rules, then it's easy to explain to our stakeholders. And this is how we manage this perception, how we are working with this perception. Of course, owning the success here in general means that we are owning the outcomes. Again, in our layers, different layers, here we have the outcomes. We own these outcomes. Of course, here is important just to have measurable and a handful outcomes, what we can measure together and what we can see and work together on it. And then, of course, we have the R here, the reassessment and reassessment of our work. And of course, here, if we have our perspective, we have environmental, social, and economic value. It means this is for us also our elements, our corridors where we are moving and reassess also our work. But of course, the last one was expand perspective. This is important. Just we have really the possibility to be a little bit broader, especially if we are measuring the different definitions of our signal here. And of course, if we have the evidence part, the signals coming in the proof, this will be one of the elements expanding our signals there. Great, perfect. Then if you just keep it in mind, MORA is the direction and the measurement layers, the minimal viable, or if you are advanced sustainability measurement layers in your organism, you can just go with the measurement layer directly, is the mechanism to get there. Okay, so now let's just get a little bit more than this measurement layer, how to adapt it to a more and more effective type of this element. Just few elements related directly with this layer. The first one is just the outcomes. This will be your sustainability contract. It means this outcomes is where I really invite you to spend time with yourself, with your team, if you have a team, with some of your stakeholders, just to define it. What is the success look like? And believe me, really, the discussions, the identification of the success sometimes is different from the actual contract, from the actual wording you have in your contract. This is really what we have there in the success, how our stakeholders are seeing this. You can take all type of stakeholders you have there as important. Sometimes it will be your implementing partner. Sometimes it will be your target group. Sometimes, in my case, also some funding agencies are some key partners, key stakeholders. And this is why for us, it takes time to try to define this outcome, the focus on the outcome. Just to give you another example, I have at the moment of 4 years. We will see it as an example, as case study. It took us around 6 months now, just to define these 3 first layers, really to focus on the outcome. And of course, this is one element where we go a little bit deeper, where we have discussions, different stakeholders engagement, local, regional. We have here in Ethiopia the so-called federal and regional levels, and this really took time until we define together what are in my case it was 5 outcomes where the most, and I'm choosing a little bit my words, the most of our stakeholders will be satisfied if we reach this. But this is also the first level. It means the basis, the outcomes. Then when we just go to the proof and signal, we just need to define our signals. What are our leading indicators? Especially, what is your early warning system about it? It means if you are drifting a little bit, then there is a signal what you can be getting you back very easily. And this is, we will see the one or the other concrete example about it in our six elements where the sustainability breaks. It means they are the signals here. But of course, the lagging indicators, the proof is also important that confirm what's happened. This is makes your outcomes, what you have defined here, defensible. Depending also from your projects. For me, it's also again it's maybe a special case that we are in a very complex and difficult environment. I'm used to prepare the answers why we are doing this and not this anytime. And this request will come from any level, from the political level, uh, locally, regionally, and sometimes even international one, or from any other agency. What's coming and saying, okay, why? What was the reason? And then I need to prove what I'm doing, what's actually happening. And then just to get now a little bit to the decision level is also just make it simple how you are putting your assumptions and your decision making elements. It's really try to put it very simple. Why? Sometimes some of the colleagues are saying, okay, project management is a pressure machine. We are always under pressure to do something. And this is why it's important just to have these assumptions and baseline as simple as possible, that you have the possibility there just to go with it, not some additional element for you. And then, of course, you have just the benchmark and the estimate you have from today. And remember, we have the R and more. We need sometimes even to reassess our benchmarking, depending from the situation, depending from the environment, of course, depending how your project or program environment is. But of course, then we have the confidence, how we are confident about what we are speaking there. And of course, here we need just to have the next improvement, how we move to the next level. And of course, these three steps, these three simplified steps, need just to be clear enough just to start and to be measured, to have this measurement. It means, again, most of us know it that always when you have draft zero is better than having nothing. This is exactly the principle behind it. So, and the last important element is to help you if you are in the situation trying now to see, okay, in which direction, in which area we are going, then of course it's important just to have your thresholds, triggers, and of course escalation. And this is the, if X happened, we decide why. Of course, when do we act and why we are acting. This is just, for example, to have it really in a binary, easy way. If I define in my program, if I have the choice between right and left in my system, we decide left. This is a simple one. It means then when we have later on our working, our stress levels, and we are in the situation to decide between right and left, it's just the easiest way we have it. We discuss it. Why we are taking the left decision and not the right one. Perfect. So then let's just now a little bit try to understand why we have these different layers and why they are important. And some of the details here, how to dig a little bit deeper about it. And for this, we will go a little bit about the 6 breakdowns. And of course, here they are most of the time in most of the project I saw last 25 years, they are most of the time very quietly kill trust value and outcomes. What we have it, and then this trust, as we saw it at the beginning, trust is very important for adaptation and acceptance of the program, and of course, is very important element for the success. The value is success, as we saw it. So, and here now for the next 6 breakdowns, I need your support and your help. I will have for each one image, representative image, and then please in the chat, just put what do you think is this breakdown about? Okay, let's just start with the first one. What do you think the first breakdown is? When you see this image, this photo, lack of clarity, Kevin is writing. Any other thoughts? Yes, Coyote. Lagging indicators. Morgan is going to unclear vision, blurred boundaries. Yes. Yeah, we are approaching. Yes, we are going in the right direction, in the right answer. And this is our first breakdown, exactly as Morgan was mentioning. The fuzzy vision is the first element where if we have it without this clarity, sustainability becomes just a cosmetic element. It's not part of our default in our projects. And this is why here we have a little bit to see how it's coming. And now just for you, the symptoms of fuzzy vision, if you are working on it, you have a sponsor speaking about strategic transformation, big ideas, big transformations, and you have from the other team, from the other side, a team talking and speaking about deliverables. And this is really a point where you need to stop and see how you are doing this. This effect, for example, in my case, I have the so-called monthly, the triple M, the monthly monitoring meetings where I have the team together and then they are presenting the status. And in some areas, you will have exactly this feeling that your team is more focusing on the numbers, on the deliverables, no more really having this link with the sponsor, with the scope, what we have defined together, with the larger vision and ideas. And there, I will get how I get the solution, how I'm recommending you to get the solution there is really, this is one of the symptoms. Then really there I stop. We take time together to discuss this element to get back on the same level of the clear vision of our projects. Of course, another element is that users expect real improvement, but the project delivers compliance. This also had the same element also in a project in Lebanon. The project was going to make rehabilitation of some schools, damaged schools in the north part of Lebanon. And then really the local government, the school principal and director, they were expecting some real improvements. And we had one implementer who was more focusing on complying on the exact color of the doors and the exact colors of the fences outside, where this was not what is expected from the users. It means this was a little bit also a symptom. Okay, what is our vision behind it? And of course, the third one will be with the partners. Of course, if they want a social benefit and then the project is measuring only outputs, this is again one other symptom about it. And this is a little bit one other example from, again, a practical case study, the training I'm doing with my projects here. It means the social benefit what we have in the community when we have trained and coach people on the green skills or digital skills. The idea behind them to give them a job opportunity to have better economic inputs, and of course this will have a very big impact on the society, on the area where they are working. If we change this income, but of course, if I'm going there and said, okay, 2025, I trained 3,400 people, yeah, the partners are not interested about this, especially they have other elements behind these expectations and why they want this. And here, just as I promised, a very simple element to see if your vision is fuzzy or not. And this is a little bit the 10 words question. If you are able, just in 10 words, to define for your project, your activity, what you are doing, what does success actually mean, then you have a clear vision. If you see that sometimes you are just struggling about these 10 words, then there, make a stop, break, a short one, and then think about it. I give you this short example, short way to do it, just as a homework, maybe later on, just to think about it, how you define a success for your project. I was used to use this type of question to explain to my 9-year-old daughter what I'm doing when she's asking me, Papa, what is your job? That means starting to explain that the project management for the international development, supporting people to have better life, was not really very easy for a 9 years old kid. And then this was more and more introduced also in my project, as also in my team. It means they need just to be able to explain it in a very simple way for people who don't have sustainability background, or for people who sustainability is not in their heart. Maybe it's economic interest, or maybe it's more social interest there, but to explain it in a very simple way, what are our goals and how our success look like. Perfect. We managed through the first breakdown. The second one, and back to you, to the chat. Just have some ideas. What is the second breakdown? What can kill our trust or the trust for our partners and projects, and even sometimes having difficult outcomes? Wanting too much? Alexandra is putting in the chat. No crystal ball, yes, is needed, Mervyn, sometimes. Hopes, yeah. Yes. The second one is the invisible value. It's if we don't really don't see the value and we don't understand it. It means, just to be frank and open, what isn't visible isn't credible, is more or less how we can see it in this way. And again, here are some symptoms for it. It means invisible value, when we define it, is when you know you are creating value, but nobody can see it. It means you're the only one that he or she knows that you are creating value is yourself, but no one is seeing this. But even worse, they see the activities, but they don't understand what if it changed for them. And this is also another level there. It means they see you working, doing, and so on. And we have this effect of my daughter having a book in the front of her, but having her smartphone inside it. It means they see it but don't understand it. And of course, here is also very important to see if the value is not understood, we will have resistance. Our sustainability efforts will stop somehow there. We have a very big resistance. If the value is not communicated, a big indifference. No one is interested. No one is really focusing with us on what we are doing. And of course, if value not evident, it will be always a suspicion there. In my work environment, always we have this suspicion having, okay, what is the hidden agenda behind the work you are doing? And of course, here we need to have this possibility to be visible, to have the possibility to have a visible value, to understand or to be understood from our partners what changed for them, to have this credibility level there. Perfect. Let's just move to the third one. The one who loves football and soccer. What could be the third one? The third breakdown? Any suggestions? Critical reviewing, Morgan. Difference in perspective. Too many managers is also a good one. So let me just explain what we see here. We see here a number of experts, SMEs, subject matter experts. And for you, Carol, please keep this your answer for a later element. We have here some SMEs, as I mentioned, with very nice tools, with a lot of technology, and then they took a decision. They took a decision based on all what they are seeing there. But the game is somewhere else. The referee is somewhere else. And the stakeholders, it means the fans and the people who are seeing this, they are somewhere else. It means these decisions, these trade-offs were taken in a black hidden room. And this is exactly the element here, the hidden trade-offs. It means, of course, if a decision is taken somewhere without any explanation, without any elements behind it, no one will believe it. And of course, this could be a public crisis. And by the way, for the football, we know that in some liga, now they introduced something new. If the referee on the field get the decision from this VAR room, then he come back to the field and speak with the field speakers for the whole people can hear him, and then he explained why the decision was taken in this way. Just to reflect it back to our project management environment in our area, it means we are a trade-off machine as project managers. It means we have costs vis-a-vis quality, speed, and resilience are asked sometimes. Innovation and risk are again here. We are just trying to have this balance, to have our trade-off elements between it. Short-term performance and long-term impact. These are sometimes also decisions what you are taking. And here, when we just take it even to the level of business benefit or social benefit. Of course, if we don't have our measurement layers, our corridor, as I mentioned at the beginning, it will be very difficult to go with this one and to have our decision rightly for our projects. And here, again, the solution is also simple, but need more discipline, is so-called governable trade-offs. It's just really a decision system. It means one rule, how we decide. It's clear how we can decide this, and I will show you this, as I mentioned, the case study with one example. Then one intent, what we are protecting, and of course, and on accountability. Who stands behind the choice? It means even if there is later on discussions, questions, everything, there is somebody who is on the accountability behind it. Okay. Now, I more or less opened this with Carol's answer, the breakdown number 4. What do you think here? Carol is very close to it. Spectators vis-a-vis players. And this is exactly the point. It means our stakeholders, main stakeholders, are spectators here. And of course, if you are sitting very nicely somewhere, the critics are very easy. He don't shot the ball in the right way. But if you have co-authors, co-players, you have more allies there. And of course, if we again see ourselves as project managers, as projects, we are not only as task managers here, but we need to be the architects of the adaptation of our projects. And of course, very important, I'm not asking you to have all stakeholders in your meetings. There will be nightmare meetings, endless meetings without the decisions. But it's very important to ask the question, who has the right to shape the decision frame? And here, of course, the very easy question to me, Haikal, how I can know who? Just try always to have these 3 questions or these 3 observations, and you'll see you have it in each project. Look at who can block the adaptation, who can shape perception, and who can turn risk into crisis. Even it's small risk, you have it as a crisis in your team. These 3 elements, these 3 behavior are the one who can shape, and you can identify which stakeholders need to be no more spectators, but co-authors for your product, for your sustainability efforts. So, the 5th one. So, we still have 1, 5th and 6th one. What do you think about this one? The breakdown number 5. Any idea? Hanging out and yes. And we have 2 right answers, exactly. The greenwashing, the new tendency we have in our environments. But here, let me just add this unintentional greenwashing is really in the direction of we don't lie, is just unintentional greenwashing, but it's also, you can have the symptoms here to see it when it's happened. Of course, if our vision is fuzzy, the easiest way to go in the direction of greenwashing is fill the gap with big words, big promises. When the value is invisible, we try to compensate it with bigger promises. And of course, when our trade-offs are hidden, we promise one thing and then we deliver another thing. And this is exactly the point where we need just to be very careful with this, very careful with this element, especially the promises without proof becomes a trust collapse. And of course, I will not speak here about different ways to document this, to be able to be transparent and so on, but it's very important element to speak about it, to make it just really as a topic and speak directly about it. And of course, here, really what I'm using since years is just try to have a small minimum credible evidence. It means showing that it's working, this has effects, and based on it, then I can make the scaling up. Of course, in some environments, some projects, we are speaking more about prototyping or something like this. But call it what you call it in your project, is important to have this small minimum evidence there to promise and deliver what you have promised. And the last one. So go on. Most of us are applying this, or at least trying to avoid applying this. Is to harvest one of what we have done until now. And the winner is Carol. The short-term delivery vis-a-vis the long-term value is really a very important element. Yes, think about it like the money, and we will see it together. Sustainability debt will become a value debt. Means most of the time we have our projects built on a short-term logic. That means deliver fast, show quick results, satisfy budget cycle, and respond to political and management pressure. These are more or less the four main elements we are getting there to this short-term delivery, but short-term speed create depth. And this is really the elements you need to work on it with your team, the one who are the product owners or the one who are doing the project itself, how to avoid it, how to be able to keep all these four elements, deliver fast, and even I will put it here, with quality, show quick results as small minimal evidence, satisfy the budget cycle, and think about results within this budget cycle, and respond to the political and management pressure, but without having the saving of today's, the fact that most of the time you will pay tomorrow with interest. And this interest is reflected in correction and reworking costs, especially the colleagues from the construction sector, they know it very well. Everything what need correction or rework costs will cost at least the double of having done it rightly from the beginning. Of course, this is something what we have often in different complex environment, the reputation of the company, of the projects. And of course, for the project itself, the resistance and lower adaptation is one element. Loss of trust is another one. But of course, the whole operational fragility is the topic behind it. Perfect. Great. We managed through the 6 breakdowns. Important, just please try to keep it in mind when you are planning, preparing a project, or even a small activity of your project. So now I will just move for the next few minutes to 2 case examples. I'm at the moment leading, we call it component, and under a big program. This is our 4th phase. And of course, here, the environment I'm working is a little bit complex, but there we defined, or we are trying from the beginning, really to have a very clear wording, very clear elements in our projects, sometimes deviating a little bit from the standards. But for us, it's very important to have our goals, our value, our vision is really to have a reform here, a big reform, but without losing sustainability, inclusion, and the private sector relevance. And here you will see it is the application of both what we have mentioned previously. We have a minimum layer to measure our sustainability element, but We are applying also the direction of MORA and the direction that we have. We manage the expectation. I have a lot of stakeholders here. We are owning the success of our project, of our program, of our activities. We reassess this, the fact that you can imagine, especially here in some areas, we have a lot of changes, is not the easiest and stablest one. And then, of course, we have the expenditure of our work where we are doing this. And this is the case where we created a very clear governance and steering structure, but we exactly push to the private sector influence. The fact, okay, if we need, and by the way, TVET, for the ones who are not from the sector, training vocational education sector, it means we are teaching people to have some vocational education skills training for them. And of course, we try to have, for example, digitization and green skills as an umbrella, and we don't lose the focus on our inclusion equality, that we have this as measures. And of course, this is not an easy element, but for us, we define it, we have it, not only in the slides, but even integrated in everything we are doing. One other example is also from the company I'm working for in Indonesia. And here also, this was in the same direction. It means it was the context not easy, but here we integrate the AI as a community decision system. It means here we just integrated as a decision from the data we received, and then to have the possibility to make a decision about the next move. And of course, this is important for us to be a little bit supportive to the coastal communities here in Indonesia. And the idea behind it was really to have the different elements. Okay, what are now our work here, how we can build resilience, support resilience, but of course, to treat AI outputs as a governable trade-offs. Of course, for us is when to act, who decides, what threshold triggers the escalation and move to the next one. Again, just as the last word, that's the measurement layer is just as a framing, not as another KPI in a new program, but is really as a framing how I can work with it, just to have some measurement. Everyone who can come after a time and saying, okay, why you took the decision for this escalation or for this other element, the idea behind it is really to have these elements, when to act, who decide, and of course, what thresholds triggers the escalation. And this make it this owning and this owning of the success, but not only the success, owning even the decision itself. It means the accountability. So, and for this case study, it was really the question what I asked you and to do it as a homework. What does success look like here? Why we need it? Was our first element to discuss with the colleagues. But of course, the second was, okay, what are the leading signals here? How we can, for this coastal community at the northern part or southern part of Indonesia, will trust the solution that working for them, and especially during delivery, how is reliable and trustable for them. Usability was also a long story behind it. But of course, one other element, what we saw together, what proof we can defend after. It means what is changing for this community there? What is the reduced harm there? This is the change our partner are seeing in their area. And this is also later on we can defend it anytime. And of course here, just again, was some effects, what we don't really expect it or we don't saw it, is the very fast adaptation of AI in this coastal area where before the program itself, no one heard about AI or the existence of AI, but later on, they were really interested to see what's happened and how you can do it there. Great. So, just looking on the time, a big thank you for all of you, and just a request, an invitation. Let's keep turning sustainability from promise into decision and making more credible. So, I will just try to see if there is any question in the Q&A. Otherwise, maybe you have the time for one or two questions. QA. How do you link the minimal viable measurement layer to benefits realization? Exactly. This is the first question we have in QA. And here is exactly, this is the heart of this measurement. It means if you are focusing only on deliverable, of course, you will reach your numbers or not, depending how you are doing this. But for you, you will define what is the value for you, what is the valuable elements for your project. And this is how you can have this measurement layer, minimum viable or even advanced, but this is one of the elements there. So, and would you kindly explain a bit more on PMI more? I'm not familiar with this concept, acronym. Yes, very fast in less than 1 minute. More is the 4 letters we have, MORA. More is the M is coming from the manage the expectations of the wider stakeholders you have in the project. It means not focusing only in one or a group of stakeholders. Manage the expectations from your stakeholders. O is own your success of the project or product. But of course, this is also a part of the accountability behind it. The R is the reassessment, and reassessment is reassessment of your parameters, projects, elements, activities, and A is for expand the perception, expand the perspectives. It means don't only focus on your area, don't see right and left. This is the expand your perception for your project and activities. Okay. And I see that
I think we have one more. Yeah.
Yes, one more. How do you manage expectation of sustainability when organization or stakeholders are not so interested? Yes, great, great, Kyle, for your question. Of course, here this is now on your area. This is your task to do it. We have two elements why stakeholders are not interested. Either there is so-called fatigue, the stakeholders fatigues, or they are not involved there. And my recommendation, based on the long experience, always to involve them and to be patient. There will be a time where you will hit the point that they are interested, but of course, you need to see what are their pain points to be able to address them, even partially. But this is a very important element. The fact, especially partners and stakeholders, their interest is changing from one area to the other one. Okay, the baselining.
We have one more.
Last one in 30 seconds. Of course, I mentioned the medium for the baseline for the confidence. Of course, here is starting from different parameters. You can be very complex, put a lot of elements behind it, and then you define, okay, my score for my confidence is, for example, 7. And you define between 4 and 7 is medium. Over 7, I am confident. Less, I am low, less confident, depending from the complexity of your project. Perfect, Alexandra.
Perfect. Haikal, thank you so much. I think it was a great presentation. I see that Merv wrote in the chat the message about PDO code. If there's any technical person, if you could just pop it on the screen so everyone can take the code. Perfect. And I think it was great. And Haikal, I think that we will see you also in a sustainability summit this year, right? So we'll have more or your perfect and great projects and information, and we will see there in June. And I think that it was great session today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.